Organic social media is without a doubt the best way to scale OnlyFans revenue in 2025. If you actually take the time to get good at social media, your model's content will be served to hundreds of millions of people for free. In my opinion, marketing on organic social is the single greatest economic opportunity today, full stop, which is why I've dedicated this part of my life to learning and understanding the craft of content creation. But a craftsman is only as good as his tools. My name is Francis, and I'm the founder of Milky Media. And in this video, I'm going to share the most critical tools that Milky has used to produce millions of dollars, millions of followers, and billions of aggregate impressions for our clients, how much they cost, and how your OnlyFans management agency can use them to make way more money with way less effort on organic social. The links to all of these tools will be in the description of the video. Milky is what I call a tip-to-tail production company, meaning that we handle every step in the production process for our clients, from the very beginning, research and script writing, to the very end, filming, editing, and schedule. This video is part of a series on organic social, so be sure to check out the previous installments, and while you're at it, subscribe to our channel. I like to approach content assuming that my audience is new or at least new-ish to media production. So I'm going to do my best to define terms, plus describe each step in the creative process along with the software that we use for that step. Those steps are 1. Research and competitive analysis, 2. Pre-production, 3. Video editing, 4. Scheduling, and 5. Engagement automation. 2 quick things before I start talking about the actual tools. You probably noticed that filming isn't on the list. That's because while Milky does handle on-site production, that's all accomplished with hardware. I'll make a separate video on all of the cameras and equipment we use and our full production workflow soon. But this video is just about software. 2. If you're new to media production for OFM, or you just want to straight up copy our production process for your agency, I've made a full PDF guide with a video walkthrough that you can download for free. Just click the link in the description to get your copy. Again, totally free. Before we jump in, while I have an amazing editor, hi Matt, and this video does have some helpful visual elements, I also make my content for business people who are constantly on the move. So you're not missing too much if you just pop me on your headphones and listen to this like a podcast. The first step in our production process is research, specifically competitive analysis, and we use a tool called SortFeed. Many agencies think that all OnlyFans models should be promoted exactly the same way, but that's absolutely not the case. A new agency owner might see a video of a MILF creator shaking around her double Ds that performs well, and then they'll have their flat-chested Korean e-girl model make the same video and wonder why it doesn't work. If you want to get good at organic social, all of your models, even the ones most of us would consider generic, should be promoted thoughtfully, not with a cookie-cutter approach. Every model is unique in some way, but in the same breath, chances are good that she shares characteristics with other models, similar personality, similar content verticals, similar appearance, or even all of the above. In traditional marketing, the process of discovering what other people in your industry are doing to promote their products is called competitive analysis. Before you even write your first script, your first step should be figuring out what the most successful models in your model's niche are doing that works. And the best tool for doing that is SortFeed. Here's our exact playbook, how we use SortFeed.
So this is how we use SortFeed. Let's say that you just acquired a model who is a gymnast. The first thing that you want to do is figure out who is crushing in the gymnast niche. And by the way, that shouldn't just be other OnlyFans creators. You should see what the most famous and successful gymnasts in the world are doing too, and incorporate their best practices into your content. Same thing applies for basically any vertical. So if you have a creator that's primarily creating comedy content, see what comedians are doing, because that's how you learn how to take the best practices, not just for OnlyFans, but what's actually working on social media, and make more broadly appealing content. For this example, I've queued up Nicole Skirts, who is the most popular gymnast OnlyFans creator I'm aware of. I've mentioned her in other videos. You should definitely check her out, even if your model is not in the gymnast niche. Very informative creator. By the way, she was at like 100K followers this time last year. So she's had insane growth. She's almost at 2 million now. One thing I'm going to say really quickly, SortFeed does not help you find models or competitors in your niche. You have to do that legwork yourself. However, once you identify those competitors, what SortFeed is incredibly good at is allowing you to instantly identify the most performant pieces of content on those competitors' pages, export them, and then analyze them with your team to figure out what to replicate, how to tweak it, and how to improve it for your own model. So you'll see here that you can sort by items, you can sort by date. We're going to sort by items. This is the most useful one. You have to come over here to the Reels tab, so make sure you're in the Reels tab. And we're just going to go the last 50 items. So the last 50 Reels that she's posted, we're going to see which one had the most views. And sort feed is going to quickly analyze the page. It's going to look at the view counts for all of these reels, since that's public knowledge. And it's going to show us the most performant of the last 50 items. It's going to show us what those are, and it's going to order them. The really cool thing that you can do here, but every time you click, it's going to eliminate the sort that you just did. What I like to do is I like to have a Google Sheet open in another tab, and you can just copy this, and it automatically copies it in spreadsheet friendly format, and you can just paste it into a Google Sheet, and you can look at every single one of these. You can look at the view counts, you can look at all of the stats. It does amazing reporting, and it exports it instantly. So sort feed, incredibly useful tool. While we're here, something that we also do is a practice that I picked up from Rory Sutherland, who is a legendary marketer. He calls this reverse benchmarking. So benchmarking is basically looking at your competitors and picking out what you like most about them and then imitating those strategies. That's what we just did. But if you do only that, you're not differentiating yourselves from your competitors. You're trying to compete in exactly the same way. It's not all about what your competitors are doing well. You want to figure out what the gaps in their strategy are, what they might be doing poorly or missing out on, and then go after that. In the case of Nicole Skirts, if you scroll through her feed, you'll see that there aren't any, can't really see from here, but if you click on any one of these, there's not really any personality reels, right? She's not talking to the camera, she's just like doing flips. Only thing she's doing is these feats of athleticism. She's hardly ever talking. And so when you're promoting your gymnast creator, you can differentiate your creator by injecting more dialogue and more personality into her reels instead of competing one for one and just copying everything that Nicole Skirts is doing. So maybe she's quickly like talking to the camera before doing a backflip. Maybe she's incorporating more verbal or auditory hooks rather than purely visual humor. All things to consider when you are doing competitive analysis, and sort feed is just an incredibly useful tool for doing that. We will go to the next section after this.
After you've conducted that initial research and performed your initial competitive analysis, the next step is ideation, coming up with ideas and determining which ones are worth the effort to produce, and then script writing, creating the outline for that piece of content to give to the model to make. The second tool on the list is one you probably already use: ChatGPT. ChatGPT has near infinite applications, and it can even be used for research. But for the sake of staying on topic, I'm only going to talk about how we use it for these two critical pre-production tasks. Two things to note here. First, this video was recorded on July 26, 2025, so everything that I'm about to say applies specifically to ChatGPT 4.0 at that time. AI is changing very rapidly, so I'm sure that the landscape is going to be different even a few months after posting this, but the basic principles of everything I'm about to say should still apply. Two, I've experimented with other LLMs besides ChatGPT, but none of them have performed anywhere near as well for this specific purpose. And a special fuck you to Claude, because as soon as Claude realizes that you're using it for OFM-related work, it will shut down even normal requests in order to protect gooners from exploitation. Ideation is the simple part. Once you have a strategy or strategies you want to move forward with, give ChatGPT all of the information you have on that strategy, all the research you've done, and prompt it to spit out 10 to 20 ideas at a time for reels. Then choose the best ones, make tweaks to make them better or more suitable for your model, then rinse and repeat. If you're super creative, you won't need to outsource this to ChatGPT at all in the beginning, but once you reach the point that you're putting out 30 or more pieces of original content a week, it's certainly nice to have the help. Script writing is a little bit tougher, and in my opinion is the more crucial element for short-form content because every second counts. Tight, intentional scripting ensures that the message is clear, engaging, and optimized for audience retention, which, if you've watched my other videos, you understand that the most important metric right now is average watch time for short-form content. A well-written script provides structure, it helps creators hook viewers instantly, and it helps them maintain pacing and deliver a satisfying payoff within a very limited time frame. It also aligns tone, visuals, and calls to action for maximum impact, which helps avoid wasted moments or filler. Normally, script writing at the scale and volume needed for organic social for OFM would be at least a full-time job. Depending on the size of your agency, it might even be a full team. ChatGPT can streamline this process by generating concise, platform-specific scripts tailored to different audiences. It can provide multiple hook variations, it can restructure content for better flow, and it can even suggest editing cues for stronger visual storytelling, A/B testing for different versions of content, so on and so forth. So not only is it replacing a scriptwriter, it's also making the entire production process start to finish easier for the rest of your team. That being said, in its current state, nearly all scripts written by ChatGPT are going to require some human touch prior to filming. The scripts that it writes still tend to feel a little bit robotic or generic, so you'll need to add in specific word choices or touches that make it fit for your model. But I'm going to share some tricks that you can use to get ChatGPT to write hundreds of scripts that require as little manual intervention as possible. There are two keys here: training and prompting. Training first. Your local instance of ChatGPT becomes exponentially more useful the more information that it has about your agency, your models, and especially your fans. And that doesn't just apply to ideation or script writing, it applies to everything that you use ChatGPT for. If you create a new OpenAI account and start using ChatGPT as a fresh user, when you ask it to write short-form scripts for your models, it's going to give you very bland, generic responses. Or depending on how you ask, it might even tell you that it can't help with OnlyFans-related tasks. However, the more data you feed it, the more useful its responses are going to become. I feed my ChatGPT full transcripts of all of my model's audio and video content, so when I ask it to write a script, it knows the words that she uses, it knows her appearance, her tone, her vibe, and how to modulate all of those things to make a given script more humorous or more serious as needed. I feed it the full chat logs from my model's all-time highest spending fans, so it knows precisely what the most common triggers for spending behavior are and how to push those buttons in social media. You can even ask ChatGPT for suggestions on data to feed it so that it can use that data to improve the quality and accuracy of its responses. Here's a list of some of the data that I've fed ChatGPT over the last 12 months. Your creativity is the only limitation. Every scrap of data related to OnlyFans marketing your agency has, from your model's personality to your internal workflows, can and should be incorporated into ChatGPT so that it can produce answers that are not just more useful, but tailored specifically to your agency, your model, and your use case. Here's a side-by-side of two responses to the exact same prompt. One trained on my model's full dataset and one with no prior information. You can see how much changes based on the training dataset. And just as important as training is prompting, the actual instructions that you give to ChatGPT to produce the results. Prompt engineering is another one of those, could be an entire YouTube series on its own concept, but for the sake of time, I'm boiling it down to 3 basic foundational elements that you can easily incorporate and start using today. The first is to give clear context and structure. Tell ChatGPT who the script is for, what platform it's for, what emotions you want to trigger, and how it should be structured. Don't give bland, inarticulate prompts like, write a short script for an Instagram reel about OnlyFans. This is way too vague, so you're gonna get something really generic, overly polished, and too vague to be useful to anybody that's gonna be unusable without heavy editing. The best way to do it would be something more along the lines of, write a 20-second Instagram reel script in the voice of a flirty but nurturing model speaking to lonely blue-collar men. Structure it into 3 parts, a 2-second hook, a casual middle, and a soft CTA. Keep it conversational and intimate, like she's talking to a close friend, not an ad. The output that you get from that, with the level of specificity that you've provided, is going to be much, much more likely to require as little editing as possible than a bland, generic input like the first one. 2, you're going to want to refine through iterations and variations. Don't settle for the first draft. Ask for different hooks, ask for different tones, ask for different lengths, and then refine the best one step by step. Again, don't give simple prompts like write a viral hook. You're going to get one generic hook with no alternative options to test, and it's not going to match your model's tone or audience psychology. You want to say your prompt should be more like, give me 3 hook variations, one funny, one emotional, one provocative, and then rewrite the strongest one to feel softer and more teasing. Finally, condense it so that it feels like casual speech without losing the call to action. Again, the more robust and specific your prompts are, the better the outputs are going to be. My last tip here is to use meta prompts for self-improvement. You can prompt ChatGPT to help you make better prompts. Ask it, what information would you need from me to make this script 90% ready to film? Suggest 5 more data points that I could feed you to make your future scripts more tailored. This closes the loop and improves future outputs. Large language models are just like real employees in that the better instructions you give, the more likely you are to achieve your desired outcome. However, unlike employees, you can just straight up ask ChatGPT how to make it better at its job, and it will tell you exactly what it needs. So take the time to learn to train your local instance and prompt well, and it'll be like having an additional 10 full-time employees that do exactly what you want within seconds of you issuing a command. The third step and the third tool in our production process is video editing software. I recommend CapCut for beginners and Premiere Pro for more advanced users. Friendly reminder, we are skipping over the actual filming content part here, so again, I'm going to cover that in another video. Once you have the raw footage from all of the hard work you did in research and pre-production, you're still only halfway done. It is very rare that raw footage on its own is going to be good enough to compete in the social media attention economy. So whether you like it or not, when you decide to take organic social seriously, you become a filmmaker. And editing is, in our opinion, the most important part of the short-form content creation workflow, and it's where we invest the most resources. Editing is not just adding captions to B-roll. It's making all of the work that you did in pre-production and filming come to life, and milking every last drop of performance out of every single second of content. Adding the right song or sound effect to accentuate the hook, perfecting the comedic timing, removing the dead space. We use two tools in our editing workflow for two different purposes, and they are CapCut. If you're just starting out, CapCut is hands down the best editing software. Their paid license is only about $100 a year, and it's made to be extremely intuitive with beginners in mind. It's nowhere near as powerful as Adobe Premiere Pro, the other editing tool that we use, but it's perfect for short-form content that requires less complex editing work. For instance, if you're just syncing audio to a clip and adding text over B-roll or something like that. If you're managing a small roster or doing all of the work yourself, you can honestly get away with CapCut for a long time. It's the perfect tool to start making polished edits without the learning curve of a pro-level editor. It comes with built-in templates and easy-to-use effects. The auto caption feature is super accurate, which is super important these days since captions have become the standard in short-form content, and they have a library of trending audio, templates, and sounds that they update constantly to match up with TikTok and Instagram Reel trends, which can relieve some of the research burden. If you're just getting into creative work, CapCut is the best place to start. Even though in many ways Milky has outgrown CapCut, if one of my editors are on vacation or our content backlog starts to get a little bit too thick, I will open up CapCut and work on the less complex pieces to pick up the slack. The primary editing tool that we use is Premiere Pro. As your agency scales, or if you just want maximum control and polish from the word go, you're going to want to graduate to Premiere Pro. Premiere is the industry standard for professional editors, and it allows for full creative control over pacing, transitions, sound design, and color grading, advanced multi-platform workflows so you can cut one master video and then instantly create TikToks, Reels, YouTube Shorts, and long-form versions, custom motion graphics, high-end title animations, all that fun stuff. In my opinion, the biggest benefit that's unique to Premiere Pro, as opposed to all of the other pro-level editing tools, is the ridiculous number of third-party integrations. Everybody designs supplementary products that shave tons of time from the editing process with Premiere Pro in mind because it is the most widely used software. So the unfortunate reality here is that Premiere has a learning curve. The subscription price isn't too bad. I think it's just $20 or $30 a month, depending on your plan. But if you are serious about building million-dollar creators, you either need to learn how to use it yourself, and I would only recommend doing this if you really love the editing process, or more likely, you need to hire editors. Either way, editing is one part of the creative process that you should never cheap out on. A good video editor is going to cost you money. That's fine because he's also going to radically improve the quality of your videos, which in turn is going to allow you to reach more people, which in turn is going to generate more revenue. Bad research will waste time. Bad ideation will waste effort, but bad editing will completely kill your reach, and it's going to invalidate all of the effort that you spend on everything leading up to the editing process. So even if you aren't the primary editor for your organization, you should at the bare minimum understand how to communicate effectively with your editors and train them on the things that they need to produce great content consistently. This is the editing process that we use at Milky. I know this is a video about software, but I'm just going to give you a couple tips because it's so important. The first is trim ruthlessly. We cut anything that does not set the hook or serve the payoff. If there's even half a second of dead space, it is gone. The second tip is front load the dopamine. People are here to smoke crack. They want fast-paced cuts, they want captions, they want quick transitions, and they want on-screen motion constantly, and especially within that first 3 seconds to maximize retention. And the last thing, you're going to want to add captions to almost everything unless there is a specific reason not to. More than 80% of viewers watch without sound, and that's probably even higher for OF because our audience doesn't want people to realize that they're watching Gooner content. So captions are not optional, again, unless you're specifically filming a piece of content where you have some good reason not to include captions. The fourth step in the production process is scheduling and metrics. As you continue to increase your creative output, you're going to be producing more and more content for each model. Once your content is edited and ready, the next question becomes, when and where should you post it? Milky produces over 50 unique pieces of content per week per model, over 100 if you include stories. There's absolutely no way that we could effectively post all of that content natively across all major platforms. That would be 250 unique posts per week per model, all posted individually across multiple accounts on multiple platforms. Posting manually is inefficient and chaotic, especially when you're managing multiple models, platforms, and time zones. Most major platforms have limits on the amount of content that you can schedule at once, which would make our entire production workflow basically impossible. That is where Metricool comes in. This tool is not just a time saver, it is a complete non-negotiable that keeps our organization organized and scalable no matter how much content we produce. Milky straight up could not run without a scheduler. Before I get into how we use Metricool and why it's so important to our agency, I want to clear up a few myths. For some reason, many OnlyFans management agencies are under the impression that social media schedulers damage reach or risk accounts. I have absolutely no idea how this belief came into being or how it got spread around, but I hear it all the time, both from peers and from consulting clients. So I'm going to say it here. Scheduling tools do not damage your content's reach or increase the risk of bans or suspensions. Full stop. Pause and think critically for a second. Do you genuinely believe that the biggest brands and celebrities in the world just give an employee an iPhone and tell them to sit at a desk all day manually posting content at specific times? Do you think that Sabrina Carpenter has a phone farm with, 10 iPhone 8s that are posting content at different times a day? Of course not. They have dedicated teams who churn out content and schedule them using these tools. The major platforms want to make posting as convenient, consistent, and reliable as possible for these organizations because these organizations are massive sources of content and revenue. These platforms practically exist to push out as much content and as much advertising as possible. So why would they punish their biggest power users by making it so that they have to schedule everything natively? It makes no sense. Milky regularly puts out content that gets tens of millions of views, 100% of which have been scheduled through Metricool. In most cases, when we create a new social media account for a creator, we immediately connect it to the scheduler. I've created no less than 10 Instagram accounts that have never posted a single piece of content manually in-app, and all of those accounts have reached over 100,000 followers on Instagram within 90 days of creation or less. We've never dealt with a permanent ban, we've never dealt with a suspension as a result of Metricool. Every now and then we'll still get hit with content violations, but we've lost 0 accounts in over 24 months of using Metricool. Even through massive sweeping ban waves, one of which just happened very recently at the time of this recording, we didn't get affected by it at all. So schedulers are, in my opinion, the single most underutilized tool in OFM, and it is one of the first things that we implement for all of our consulting clients across the board. There are a lot of schedulers out there. Most of them are good, but this is why we use and recommend Metricool in particular.
So this is the planning page in Metricool. The UI is very simple. You just have all of these time slots, and when you're ready to schedule something, you just click a time slot. So here we're just going to click this blank time slot, and we are going to select which platforms we want to post on. So let's say we've got X, Facebook, Instagram Reels, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube Shorts. We can post to all of those at once. Whatever content that we want to upload, we are going to drag into this box here, and it'll automatically start uploading it. And while it's uploading, we can come up with a caption. So caption goes here, and we can select all of the presets that we want for each platform. So on Twitter, you want to make sure that everybody can respond. On TikTok, you want to make sure that comments, duets, and stitches are allowed and the post is going public. Most of these will be default toggles, so you can just set them to whatever your normal posting strategy is like. And once all of that is done, you click this schedule button down here, and then it's going to go, that post will go live on all 6 of these platforms on July 29th at 10 a.m. Imagine this is an incredible time saver. It's extremely useful because manually posting on all of these platforms would take, 15, 20 minutes probably to do for every single post. And for this model, as you can see, right now we have 4 posts a day going out, and this is just short form content. This is not long form YouTube. This is not Instagram or TikTok or X stories. This isn't like text Twitter posts. This is just short form content. We're doing 4 posts a day that are scheduled in addition to live posting. So if we had to schedule every single one of those through all of these platforms, we would literally spend all of every day, maybe not literally, but it would be like hours a day to do all of this, which would be insane. There's no reason to do that when tools like this exist. Right now, we have a virtual assistant whose sole job it is to upload files from our Dropbox into these prime times. That's another thing that I forgot to mention. You can see how it's kind of lit up pink and it's darker pink in some areas. Those are the times when your users are most active. So it will show you over time what your highest performing periods, like time slots are, and you can just schedule content in those time slots. We try to space things out a little bit, and we try to post just before those hotspots, because that's usually when those users are becoming active, not when they are already most active. Anyways, like I was saying, we have a VA whose job it is to just upload this stuff. Their only job is to schedule. We pay them $5 or $6 an hour. It's a super simple task. Anybody with an internet connection and a couple brain cells to rub together can do it. The other cool feature of Metricool is this analytics page. So in addition to having native posting support for all of the platforms that OFMs care about, like Instagram, Threads, X, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube Shorts, even less popular platforms like Blue Sky, like LinkedIn if you're really freaky, I guess. So in addition to allowing you to post simultaneously on all of these platforms, it also gives you scraped analytics from all of those platforms. So instead of having to go from platform to platform like Instagram to TikTok and look and, side by side and look at all of the performance of those posts individually, you can look at the overall account analytics in one place, which is super useful for data-driven agencies. This dashboard has almost everything you want. It's got daily average follower growth. So as you can see here over the last 30 days. This has not updated yet. You're definitely getting more than 63 followers today. But as you can see, balance of followers. So it'll show you how many followers you gained or lost on a specific day. So this is really useful for is if I come over here to July 24th, we gained 10,000 followers that day. That's a big day. I can look at the post that went live on July 24th and investigate why did we have such a strong follower growth that day. And once we have that information, I can also go back and say, okay, well, let's do more of this in the future. Super useful. Also shows you, in addition to follower growth by day, it shows you demographics. So obviously mostly male audience. I'm going to guess this unknown is 99% male as well. So really this is like a 97.5% male audience, which that makes sense. Shows you age, shows you followers by country, followers by city. And also this is really useful down here, average reach per day. So right now our average reach per day on this account is about 1.5, almost 1.6 million. Not too bad for an account of this size. The only thing that's really missing from this analytics dashboard that I would like them to add is post by post analytics. So I can understand if I was able to look at like average watch time on a day's posts, that would be super awesome. But that is a really big ask in terms of like amount of data that they're scraping and overall compute that would be used. So completely understandable that they don't have that as a feature, and it's not something that I anticipate them adding anytime soon. Worth noting here, just a little disclaimer, there are more robust, more feature-rich platforms that are designed for huge scale, big organizations. The licensing fees for those get pretty insane. They're up to like 5 figures for, I think Brandwatch at the highest tier is like $50,000 or $60,000 a year. 99.99999% of agencies do not need or even want the features that are included with Brandwatch. Metricool is going to be more than sufficient to handle the needs of an overwhelming majority of agencies, and it starts at just $18 a month, and it has flexible pricing that is based on the number of profiles that you use. So it's good for really small agencies, it's good for really large agencies, and in terms of value per dollar, it is probably the single best software tool on this list. Very, very, very strongly recommend everybody watching this, go incorporate Metricool into your workflow today. Thank me later. It's going to save you ungodly amount of time and headache. Last thing on this, actually, I don't want to forget this. It posts through a US proxy. So if you are based in, I don't know, Dubai or whatever, and you have a bunch of models that are in Eastern Europe, you plug in their accounts to Metricool and you can select a US proxy and it will post through that US proxy. So you don't need a phone farm, you don't need US SIM cards, you don't need to do all the other black hat bullshit that you're probably doing right now. All you ever had to do was create a Metricool account, make sure that it's posting to a US proxy, and voila, you have a US audience. So super useful, get on it.
The last step in the organic social process is engagement automation. You might think that posting content is the last step in the organic social process. After all, once you post a piece of content, all that's left is to see how it performs, right? But there is one more step. Getting your followers off the social media platforms and onto your model's OnlyFans page. Some people will do this naturally just by clicking the model's link in bio and visiting the OF page, but most people need a little bit more encouragement. Engagement automation basically helps you dig out those last few percentage points of people who might convert or are interested in converting to OF subscribers, but aren't going to do it natively on the platform. However, there is no way that you can engage with hundreds of thousands of followers manually, which is why you need engagement automation tools. The first of these tools is Harpoon. And I'm a little bit biased because it is my own product, but the Harpoon thesis is as follows. A majority of your OnlyFans agency's revenue is generated by whales, customers who spend large amounts of money on your clients' pages. A single whale might be worth 5, 10, or even 50 times an average fan in terms of lifetime value. And yet, agencies have no idea how to find and market to whales effectively. And until now, there's never been a tool to help. To solve that problem, we developed Harpoon, a simple, elegant solution that any OnlyFans agency can easily add to their promotional stack. Here's how it works. Step 1, we create a custom boyfriend application that's tailored to your model that collects key data points, everything from age and income level to kinks and sexual fetishes. You get access to all of this data, which you can use to enhance your marketing and chatting. Step 2, you add the boyfriend application to your model's link in bio and/or drive traffic to it with tools like Instagram stories or paid ads. Step 3, using text message and email campaigns to reach out to applicants, we convert thousands of these wannabe boyfriends, your model's most engaged followers, subscribers into elite paid subscribers. And our results have been nothing short of insane. On average, our campaigns convert 20 to 30% of applicants to obsessed subs who proceed to spend hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars on a model's OF page. Every single Harpoon customer has generated a minimum of 5x return on investment within their first month. Harpoon's price scales based on your model's Instagram following. But since it's such a unique product, we are now de-risking it for new customers. So if you follow our best practices and you don't make double your subscription price in your first month of Harpoon use, you get a full refund, no questions asked. If you'd like to check out Harpoon and learn more, check out our other videos on this channel or go to ofmharpoon.com. The second tool that we recommend in this category is ManyChat, and it actually works incredibly well in tandem with Harpoon or as a standalone. ManyChat is a DM automation tool that lets you create Instagram auto replies that are triggered by comments, story mentions, or keywords. It's normally used by brands and businesses that offer products and services to take advantage of high-intent customers and push them down the sales funnel, but it works perfectly for OnlyFans. If you've ever seen a reel that says, like, comment X to get a free copy of Y, this is the tool that they're using to send you that automated message after you comment the trigger word, in case you were ever curious about why people do that. For OnlyFans, instead of manually replying to every single guy who comments like a heart eyes emoji on a reel or says I love you, your model can automatically send them a flirty message that funnels them towards the next step that you determine, whether that's a follow, a link to her OnlyFans, or to use it as a sidecar for Harpoon to funnel your most engaged leads to the boyfriend application. This doesn't just save time, it dramatically increases conversion. You're essentially setting up a trapdoor under every single post and catching leads while they're warm. Remember, oftentimes Instagram is like a pregame for jacking off for a lot of our audience. So if you can catch them in that arousal state, you can easily take advantage of their increased suggestibility in that time frame. You can keep the most common trigger words active for every post. Words like boyfriend, wife, love, etc., in addition to setting up specific trigger words that correspond to other marketing campaigns that you're running. At Milky, we primarily use ManyChat to build what we call soft funnels. Think of it like a conversation that starts on Instagram, builds a little bit of emotional tension, and then ends with the subscriber paying for more intimacy behind the paywall on OnlyFans. It's an absolute game changer for scaling warm lead engagement without burning out your team or your models. ManyChat is one of those tools that also rewards creativity. They have hundreds of default automations that you can experiment with, along with tried and true ones that just work no matter what. Price scales based on usage, so you really get what you pay for. You can set caps on the number of automated tasks that ManyChat performs to keep yourself from going over budget. It honestly feels a little bit like having a paid ads platform that sits on top of your organic social presence, and it's the best of both worlds in that sense. As I said in the intro, you can find links for all of these tools in the description. Milky uses these every single day, and every single one of them have been absolute game changers for our organization. If you're more of a visual learner and you want to see how all of these slot into our workflow in a more readable, scroll-friendly format, once again, I'm giving away Milky's entire production workflow as a PDF for free to everybody who joins our email list. So just click on the link in the description, input your email, and I will send you our entire production playbook as a PDF, plus a video walkthrough on how to use it. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss any future content, and hit the like button while you're at it if you got value out of this video. It helps the channel grow and lets me know if I'm being useful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.